So here I be, people. Here I be. It's Thursday. I'm thirsty. You guys ready for it? You ready for it? You ready for it? Where you at? I don't know, man. How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? I think I gotta you guys know come hell or high water, I'm gonna be here, right? But yeah, I guess I gotta be better about doing my commercials and what have you. I was kind of slipping today. I was kind of following up on what was going on and trying to see who was where and blah 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 blah. Yep. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, my man is here. I got something to say. So, what's happening, people? How y'all doing? What's going on? You see that? So I'm gonna give a couple people a little time to get here, but I'm gonna ask a stupid question to start the show off. How many people actually watched the inauguration? Don't everybody raise their hand at once. Hold on 1 second. Let me turn the little light on so I can see people in the cheat seat. Ah, future's so bright I gotta wear shades. I got all kind of stuff here. I got all kind of stuff here. Y'all get to see what's happening behind the scenes, huh? I know. It's not supposed to be here. I'm about to fire the lighting guy. I think he's slipping on his job. He's definitely taking things for granted. Oh, that's me, huh? Shit, I can't fire myself, huh? But I'm gonna have to talk to the voices in my head, make sure they get shit together here. Make sure they get shit together and see how this works. Give me just a little light. Y'all see me a little bit better? Just a little bit better? Okay. As you can tell, I was trying to get everything done. So I was kind of sleeping. Being a one-man show, I got to make sure that everything is right for myself, by myself. Anyway, what's going on, people? How y'all doing? Newsflash, breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. Joseph Robinette Biden is now president of the United States. And the crowd roared. Kamala Harris is the first Black woman, Jamaican, and South Asian, Indian, female who's vice president. And AKA has lost their mind, including my daughter. You saw the pictures of my granddaughters all dressed up in their regalia and their ski and so forth and so on. But shout out to my AKAs and the Greeks out there. No, I'm not. I was always me fight me. I don't play well with others. Imagine that. Folks, this has been a hell of a week. Somehow we got here. So, what's up, people? Party people. When you see me looking to my right, I'm checking out my monitor for YouTube. So I got YouTube over here, I got Facebook over there, and pretty soon I'm gonna have something over there too. So I'm gonna expand the show. I got a couple things going on. Fantastic. I'm gonna tell you something, and I'm just gonna say this. Being former military, I kind of like having the troops there. Even though they were National Guardsmen or what have you, I like having them there. I think the sacrifice that we in the military make should enable us to a front row seat of seeing our the changing of the guard and the new commander in chief. So even though they were there to squash uh, a terrorist presence, I like the fact that they got to be there. I like that. I really, really like that. I like that they had a front row seat. I like the fact that they became part of the ceremony itself. So, shout out. I shouldn't salute. Marines don't salute without a cover on their gourd, but I'm going to break that tradition and I'm going to say, um, present arms and shout out to all my men and women in uniform. Um, and that just doesn't include just the military. I understand that a lot of brothers leave and sisters leave the military and join law enforcement, and I understand a lot of people just go straight into law enforcement. So what we saw is blue lives don't matter as much as they thought it did, especially when we had these anarchists, these terrorists, whatever they call themselves. I call them terrorists. They mistook the word patriot for coward, and they went out there and they did some things. So patriots don't behave that way. Yeah, there's a big difference between even how the founding fathers behave and how those terrorists behaved 2 weeks ago yesterday. So I see we got a lot of people in here, and you guys were ready on time. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm gonna just say this. Um, Good evening. Welcome to the show. As always, I truly, truly am humbled. And if you know me, you know I have no problems with my confidence, but I am truly humbled that you guys come here every Thursday to spend your Thursday night with me and hear what I have to say. Um, my name is Hank Batiste. I'm also known as the Renaissance Man, or Rennie. Um, I'm your host tonight, and I always talk about the voices in my head. Tonight, the voices in my head are dancing with glee. I got some over here tap dancing. I got some over here doing that Leroy thing on Fame with the expressive dance. And then I got some folks over here pop locking and what have you. I don't know what they're doing. So we're just dancing with glee. Um, did you hear that? Oh no, 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 no. That's those people that didn't vote for Biden and who are supporting Trump. They're making some noise. So hopefully they'll come along. My show is called I Got Something to Say, so it must be true. Um, all I'm going to say about this is welcome to the new norm. This is the first inauguration where the American public did not get a chance to participate in the changing of the guard and the crowning of a new president of the United States. And I use that term lightly and in jest because our last president really thought he was a king of some sort, definitely a dictator. So in the military, we call it changing of the guard from one commander in chief to the other. So from one president of the United States who was playing a role, you're fired. He was an apprentice president, and it took us 4 years to fire him, but we got rid of him. I made jokes about them cleaning out the Oval Office in the White House, and I didn't really think they would have the gall, the mitigated gall to actually do it, but I see some of them actually did. So I hope, as petty as that is, I hope they're tracked down and those artifacts and that memorabilia that belongs to the American public is recaptured and they're prosecuted. We have to, if you and I write a bad check and we're charged all of these exorbitant fees and we run the risk of going to jail, then anarchists and terrorists should not be able allowed to wantonly break the law simply because they didn't get their way. So that's all I can say about that. Um, this is our new norm. We have a new president of the United States, and we have a Madam VP for the first time. She has women young and old, donning pearls and wearing Chuck Taylors, and I got a kick out of that. I my daughter says the Chuck was just in case somebody bucked and you had to whatever. But we're from the night war. We're from okay, she wasn't. She's from the night war too. I didn't live in the night war with my family, but that was what they said. So this vice president gave all women, even some women that didn't vote for her, some of them were jealous, but I think they embraced the idea that a woman could not only be vice president, but that she could be president as well. So secretly, they rejoiced as well, even though I know they sit there with this, why can it be me? So, I had mixed feelings, I have to admit, and I'll talk about it a little later. But, this is not the first time that we've had so much promise in America, and somehow America found a way to renege on said promises. Yesterday, what we saw was the culmination of my Creole powers on full display as Despicable Donnie sulked and he shrunk into the little man that he really is. And he got on Air Force One for the final time, and he just disappeared into the clouds. Unfortunately, he's here in Florida, so if I go to South Florida, I have to deal with some of that nonsense. Then we saw all of this regalia, all of this pomp and circumstance. I couldn't help but to feel proud. When things happen, the first thing I say is, man, if my mom could see this, because I remember them feeling so much promise and them hoping to realize, living long enough to realize Dr. King's dream. So now that it's actually coming to fruition, I really wish that some of them were here to celebrate and see their struggle, the fruit of their struggle. You understand? Our parents. So our parents, I know, is definitely dancing a jig up there, looking down on us. And I think they're proud of what we're doing because we're carrying on their legacy. I think they're proud of their grandchildren and their grandchildren's grandchildren. Certainly some things have been happening that gives us so much, just so much promise, but we have to stay vigilant, people. I say that. So, first law of physics says to every action there's an equal and opposing reaction. I say that action is not equal and opposing, is dynamic, which means sometimes it's stronger, sometimes it's weaker. But there is an opposition. That's that opposing action. So to all of this promise is an undercurrent of those people that are jealous and what have you. We saw the culmination of our Creole powers. We saw Biden and his inclusion. I kept talking about, since 2017, you heard me talk about, to those people that weren't Biden supporters initially, I always talk about the evolution of a man and how Joe Biden has evolved. This is not the same Joe Biden I encountered when I went to DC, or we saw back in 1988 and 89 that opposed Anita Hill and looked to put Clarence Thomas on the Supreme Court. And I'm going to say something, and shout out to Craig, my little cousin. he pointed that out, and I thought about it, and I wasn't going to make a big deal out of it because sometimes I just try not to give people a voice or any oxygen to breathe. But I know you guys noticed it as well. Of all the Supreme Court justices that was there, one was obviously missing. One was obviously missing. Don't everybody say his name at one time, but it starts with a Clarence and ends with a Thomas. And somewhere in the middle is Tom. So he was not there. And it seems like he should have made it a point to be there. Um, for no other reason other than it was his duty to do so. But we didn't miss him. Now, we saw this new thing, this online, this cyber pump and circumstance, and we saw this inclusion of different genres of music, people from different walks of life, um, and we heard. I caught a glimpse of, and I don't know if you guys paid attention to it, but Joe Biden and the Oval Office, and there was nothing there. Now, I know some of the furniture had been moved and what have you, but there are usually a couple things that are still lying around, like a Ming Dynasty vase that's probably worth $2 million or more dollars, and Buster Lincoln that we saw walking out of the door, and so forth and so on. So we got a chance, but what I heard about last night was we are footing the bill of a 500,000 cleaning and sanitation of the White House. So maybe when I made jokes about despicable, delusional Donnie pissing on the floor and pissing on the walls and the carpet, maybe I didn't lie. Maybe that was more of my Creole powers just telling the future. But I could understand. I wouldn't want to move into the house being that dirty, So the last renters were trifling. So we're moving onward and upwards. That's about the last thing that I'm going to say about DJT. Okay? Despicable Donnie, delusional Donnie, Trump with thin skin, the orange Cheeto, so forth and so on. So we're done with him. Let's leave him. Let's let him disappear in oblivion. I promised I wasn't going to make this about my Creole powers, but I feel vindicated to finally see what I said was going to happen. Some of the predictions I made, everything from Joe Biden being the antidote to the hate that was Donald Trump, and this resurgence of James Crow Jr. So that made me feel good. Tonight we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about hating America's new love for everything that's black. Oh yes, it's popular to be black now. We're also going to talk about how we got to November the 3rd, 2016, and January the 6th, 2021. 2021. So we're going to talk about some of the things that led up to this newfound hate that percolated and spilled over into everyday life, and how it became so popular to be a white supremacist and anarchist and a terrorist and so forth and so on. Then we're going to talk about inclusion, how to be tolerant and not becoming, because we're in power now. And I say the power because we have the House, we have the Senate, we have the White House, and we have a lot of governors and what have you around the country. So we have to make sure we're always taking the high road. And I look to a couple people for that, reminding me of it, because I ain't gonna lie to you. At times I could be petty as hell. I'm old school. Martin Luther King said, "An eye for an eye leaves everybody blind." But I said, if you poke my eye, I ain't gonna be the only blind one. I'm gonna blind your behind as well. So we have to be the bigger ones. We have to not allow ourselves to sink into their pettiness. So, um, let me see. Okay. We have to be the bigger people. We have to not sink into their pettiness and make sure that we are doing what we're supposed to be doing. So, we're going to talk about that. Lastly, we're going to end on a somber note. We're talking about COVID, and Dr. Fauci said, let science speak. So, with that, tonight's show is called 1-20-21. Today, democracy. Today, democracy prevailed. 1-20-21. Today, democracy prevailed. I got something to say. Let's omit the logic and do this. Hate in America's new love of Black. What I would not give to be 25 to 30, young, gifted, and Black. Now, when I arrived on the scene in DC, I was about 27, 28. And I was those people that I see out there now. So it does my heart good because I see the people who have picked up the torch and surpassed me. People that used to work for me at Bethesda, they used to say, man, I want to be like you when I grow up. And I always say, no, be better than me. The last thing you want to be is a carbon copy of somebody else. So you be the next. You be better than that. You understand? So when I see that, it makes my heart feel good. And there's no way I can even talk about being young, gifted, and Black without talking about Amanda Gorman. Oh my God. This little 22-year-old piece of girl just blew us all away. She showed us what the power of words. She showed us what a vocabulary really means. I don't know if kids today are given a list of words like we were when we were in school, and you have to learn the words, and every week you got 20 new words, and you have to use those words in the sentence and define the words. But this young lady, she blew me away. She blew me away because I could see us. I could see my granddaughters. I could see a lot of things, that some dreams that are being realized. It's so crazy because she talked about coming from a single parent household. And I always say to every man, if you don't have a relationship with your daughter, the only person you're really hurting is yourself. My sons, I'll look for them to find their own place in the sun. But no young lady should be looking for a daddy in the street. And yes, I digress, but I looked at this young lady and I was blown away. And I just saw all that could be. And on top of that, I see Abby Phillip. Abby Phillip has become one of the most prominent voices for CNN. So here's this young lady, and she can't be no more than 35. She's become this voice, and now she's going to have her own show. But she represents herself so well. She's Trinidadian, so she's Trini, and she represents not only herself, but she represents the islands of Trinidad and Tobago so well. She represents, what can I say? And what I like most about her is how she reports, how she articulates, how she interviews. It's so far removed. I have a problem with Okra and Gale. I don't like their brand of journalism. I don't like them ambushing people. You understand? I just don't like that. And Abby is so far above that. So shout out to Abby. She carries herself with class and distinction. And lastly, I'm gonna talk about this brother. He's got to be the most optimistic, the most mild-mannered brother I've ever seen. I mean, I thought I just couldn't imagine I see some of me growing up in him because I was this optimistic kid until I left home. I call New Orleans my cocoon. And when we leave that cocoon and we get our first taste of realism, we get our first realization of all of the things that are going on out there. But this brother maintained his optimism. He's the most optimistic, the most mild-mannered, the most articulate brother on CNN, and you can tell that he has a speech impediment because when he gets excited, he starts to stutter a little bit. I'm talking about nobody other than this former Obama advisor, Mr. Van Jones. What I liked about him is there were so many times he was sitting next to Rick Sanitarium, and Rick would be saying something to undermine Van, or he would be defending his cohorts in the Republican Party and making excuses for they're doing this because they feel like they're losing their country. Well, what about our country? We live here too. So you can't, once upon a time, we taught our children it's okay, but respect boundaries because you're not the only one who's riding on the bus. You're not the only one in the lunchroom. You're not the only one in the classroom, and so forth and so on. So we were taught how to tolerate and how to get along with others. Now, me, I don't always play kindly with others because when I see somebody step on my boundaries, I react. What we're seeing now, folks, is the realization of W.E.B. Du Bois's talented tent. Dr. Du Bois felt like if we showed America our most talented, that we would be accepted. And then he abandoned that. Eh, 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 eh. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and finish up. Okay, I got a couple people on Facebook. I hate for y'all to be left out because I get so many people. There are so many. That's where I started. And I had some new viewers tonight. Um, 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 um. You hear me now? Okay, good. All right, now they can hear me. Back to the matter at hand. All right. Wow, wow, wow. I can hear you. I can hear you. I'm gonna have to learn how to sign. Okay, people, they can hear me now. They can hear me. Shit's cleared up. Okay, I know a couple people have some things they have to do. Okay. All right, where was I? Let me just talk about this. What I was saying is to be young, gifted, and black. I talked about three things. I talked about this 22-year-old poet, Amanda Gorman, and how she wowed America. Also talked about Abby Phillips. Abby has become a prominent voice on CNN, and her interview style, everything that she does is classy, and she carries herself with class and distinction. And then I talked about this brother, Van Jones. Van is the most optimistic, mild-mannered brother. He was one of Obama's advisor, and he dealt with Rick Sanitarium, his sly assaults, and he calmly articulates his analyses, his editorials, and his opinions. So, what I was saying is, this is the realization of Dr. Du Bois's talented tent. Okay, we're seeing it unfold right before our very eyes. Um, we'll see how it turns out. The one thing that we know is America doesn't always embrace that. When we shine, when we stand out, it causes trepidation for other folks because they see our level of talent. They see these rising LeBron James and Michael Jordans in their particular crafts, and especially when you're talking about someone who has a voice on TV. When they're not cooning, when they're not promoting the lie, when they're not promoting, when they're not capitulating to these white folks, it scares them. But I'm just going to move on. How did we get to Trumpism, November 3rd, 2016, and how did it overflow on January the 6th, 2021? It's no secret. 2 weeks ago, as of yesterday, we saw about 25 to 30,000 radicalized extremists become terrorists because Trump couldn't get his way, because he convinced them that what was good for him was good for America. So they violently seized Congress. Radicalization is the same, and I said this before, whether you're talking about uh, a Muslim extremist or an American extremist calling themselves a patriot. This radicalization is not created in a vacuum. What we see is a cross section of America always gets mad when non-whites start to excel. Suddenly they don't feel like they can compete. Suddenly they feel like just someone has taken their job. If you're the best at what you do, you can always make room for yourself. Instead of our leaders educating their constituency, they stroke these fires of fear and hatred, and they give it oxygen so that fire starts to burn. One of the things President Biden said yesterday that resonated and struck a chord with me, he said that politics doesn't have to be so volatile. It doesn't have to be this way. So he's trying to bring in inclusion, but all that's going to do is going to cause some people to hate him for doing what's best. The best person, be it man, woman, or child, should get the job. Some of those people, like Lisa Boot, as in John Wilkes Booth, she tweeted that this is a sad day for America. Former Secretary of State. Here's somebody that's supposed to know better. Mike Pompeo. He failed miserably in foreign affairs, but in his final days, all he was doing was carrying Trump's water overseas. He tweeted, "I am proud for what we accomplished, and I will never stop fighting for America." You weren't fighting for America. You were fighting for the twisted ideals of a despicable, delusional man who only cared about himself. He don't care that 5 people died. He don't care about the over 400 people, almost 400 people that have died of COVID. We have less industrialized nations that has a lower body count. So how could you be proud of the work you did when you didn't do what you were supposed to do? Then we got this this woman, and I'm not gonna say her name. I posted the thing on my page. She's a freshman House representative from the state of Colorado. She gave tours to these soon-to-be terrorists. Now she's lying about it, saying that she was just giving her family members tours. But one thing's for damn sure, during the coup attempt, she was tweeting the whereabouts of Nancy Pelosi. Go figure. Something has to be done. There has to be a price to pay for things like that. When it happens, we have to make sure that these people pay a price. I'm not saying if if the shoe were on the other foot, and I always talk about double standards. If the shoe were on the other foot, if it were one of us, if we call ourselves Black Lives Matter, or if I went there wearing this T-shirt that says a black agenda, then I would be a thug. I would be a terrorist. I wouldn't even be called a domestic terrorist. I would be called a terrorist. I would be hit with sedition charges. Now there's 124 people who have been arrested. But this chick does not want to go through the metal detectors because she wants to be able to carry a gun. That's the last crackpot, congressperson or not. Your behind should not have a gun in the halls of Congress. You're 3 fries short of a Happy Meal. 3 French fries short of a Happy Meal. And you want to carry a gun? No. Last night on Hannity, I listened to different points of view, even if I don't agree with them, because sometimes it gives me an understanding of people's fears, the seed of their hate. I could not listen to Sean Hannity last night because even some of the people from Fox News was embracing the changing of the guard and a new commander in chief. They were embracing Joe Biden as the new president of the United States. They were even celebrating Kamala Harris as the first female vice president. And then Hannity came up. I call him despicable, delusional Donnie on a budget, little Donnie. He and Lindsey Graham and Kevin McCarthy, I'm sure they wear despicable Donnie pajamas. Maybe they're like Roger Stone. I don't know if Roger Stone has a tattoo of Richard Nixon or Donald Trump, but it's ridiculous. This type of idol worshiping from public servants and from people that have a voice to spread this type of hate. This is how November the 3rd happens, because these people stroke the fears of poor, disenfranchised people. It's not just white. The majority of them are white. The majority of them, all they have to lean on is white privilege. But it's not just them. It's affluent people as well, of all races. For whatever reason, they want to be a part of the power struggle. They're like Lindsey Graham. Whatever way the power is going, that's where you're going to find Lindsey. Lindsey has no constitution. Lindsey, if you look up the saying, a man that doesn't stand for something will fall for anything, you will see Lindsey Graham's picture. I've said enough about that. I'm going to move on. I'm going to try to get this done. Facebook people and YouTube people, I apologize. Now you see why I wanted to take my show away from Facebook. I don't know what happened. Then we have these congressional conspirators. Let me get back to the matter at hand. They're the Lindsey Grahams, they're the Ted Cruzes, they're the Kevin McCarthys, and there's the ringleader, Mitch McConnell. Mitch is the worst of all. Mitch is so freaky, filthy rich that he don't care. He really doesn't care. He doesn't care about anybody but cementing his vision of an exclusionary America. But he strokes the egos of these wannabe, and he stokes the fires of hate. He does so by radicalizing certain people. He gives them a place either in government or as a judge or whatever, whatever, whatever. And then he places them. So now he has a network, 300 or more judges, including 2 people to the Supreme Court. As we saw, these people were not really loyal to Trump. But I promise you, they're loyal to Lindsay. I promise you, these are the people that helped to radicalize these Americans. Was a young man, Ali. We saw QAnon. We saw the Proud Boys. We saw all of these disenfranchised people who were given what they thought was a purpose from people like Lindsey Graham. When you're someone in power and someone tries to align themselves with you, they eat it up because now they know someone supposedly in high places. That's the con. As a result, now we're starting to see the struggle within the GOP. Some of them really want to be more centrist and middle of the road. Some of them want to participate. But in their own jurisdictions, in their own constituencies, as people like the Lindsey Grahams that agitate and radicalize people and say, if you're not of this train of thought, we're not going to put you back in. So they lose their morals over a period of time. They become like Lindsey Graham. They have no direction. They have no constitution. They don't stand for anything. So whatever way the wind blows, that's the way they go. Last thing I'm going to say, over 4,500 people, 4,500 people died of COVID yesterday. We knew it was going to get worse before it got better. I'm just going to step out on the limb and I'm going to say this is blowback from Christmas. This is blowback from all of the holiday season. The only good thing that we have going for us now is we have no big family holidays anytime soon. So hopefully we can start to curb this as we start to get the vaccinations. We heard Dr. Fauci said, working for the Biden administration is so different than working for the Trump administration because now he can speak freely and there's not a repercussion for him saying something that the commander-in-chief doesn't want him to say, that the president doesn't want him to say. But what he says, we're not going to talk about this, that, or the other. We can't give any steadfast answers as to when this is going to be where we want it to be. We have to let the science speak. But what we can do is we can all do our particular parts. We can take it upon ourselves to do our little quarantines. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't get with people, but it means that we have to use our minds we use our heads when we do this. So if you come together with somebody, make sure you're not bringing something to that person, and that person in turn should make sure that they're not bringing something to you, so that when you leave each other, you're not bringing something to someone else. and so on and so on and so on. This is what happened when this knucklehead was having all of these super spreader rallies and conventions and convincing people that this was happening. This COVID was a farce and COVID was just a sham. It was a charade to keep him from winning another 4 years. When all he had to do was, well, we know he can't tell the truth. If he did two things, we probably would have had to put up with his behind for another 4 years. If he'd have told the truth about COVID, we probably would have had to put up with his ass again. If he'd have told the truth about losing this election, we probably would have had to put up with his ass in 24. So things happen for a reason, people. I'm glad that he is the shell of a humanoid that he is. Let the science speak. Take care of yourselves. Take care of those people that you care about. There were two people that passed. One was a former Tuskegee Airman. He was 100 years old, I believe, and 90. He was just say he was 100 plus years old, and all the things this man had done. And I can't remember his name right now because I'm just disabled about this whole Facebook thing. The other was this lady from Hawaii who did the sign language. She passed as well. So every night, CNN gives a shout out to some people who have passed. We all know some people, personally and otherwise. Being a healthcare professional, when I see people pass, understand that it's a transition from one life to another, from this life to an eternal life. That's not only my healthcare training, that's my theological training and schooling as well. In the past year, we've all been cavalier in dealing with this. Today is the 1 year anniversary, supposedly, of the first case that was diagnosed as COVID. And we've lost close to 410,000. The scientists are estimating that by February the 14th, we will have lost 500,000 Americans to this virus. And it didn't have to be. So now we need to do what we need to do. I'm a backtrack. I said I wasn't going to be the first to get this shot. But if it means that I can see those little girls that I post, as much as I love my grandchildren, I'm not going to take a chance on bringing something into their household. I'm just not. Because I want to see them become, Olivia will be 4 years old on the 25th of January. Chrissy will be 4 years old on the 21st of July. I want to see them become poet laureates. I want to see Olivia become, because they have so much promise. The world is their oyster. When they look at some of the things that their mom, their dad, their grandfathers did, I want them to be able to surpass that. To all the people that was on Facebook, I apologize. To all the people that's on YouTube, I apologize for having you guys stand by. Let the science speak. Yesterday, we lost over 4,500 people to COVID. Like I said, scientists predict 500,000. Yes, 500,000 by Valentine's Day. We're living in a horror movie. This is like some Dustin Hoffman Contagion, 28 days or some craziness. But there's light at the end of the tunnel because now we really have leadership that embraces the job that's ahead. These super spreader rallies will be no more. I said before, Biden has evolved. He's the best person for the job because he's not trying to stroke his ego. He's the best person for the job because, like I said, he would hit the ground on day one with a plan in hand. He has all of these tools, these resources at his beck and call. When he saw Clinton and G.W. Bush and Obama, he's worked with all of these people in Congress. See, if anybody understand, Mitch is not about making Biden successful because he wants control of the Senate again, and he wants control. He wants another pawn that he can use in the White House. So it's imperative that we stay engaged. It's imperative that we keep on doing what we did this past year. I'm working on this organization, a Black agenda, and it's been slow coming together because my funds are limited. Pretty soon I may start selling these t-shirts. Pretty soon I'm gonna start raising money. But I want us to do the same thing that they're doing. I want us to put together a political action committee. I want us to put together some of these young, bright minds in a think tank so that we can have the next poet laureates and some of these young minds that have these ideas, but they just don't have access. So us, being the ages that we are, and some of you, most of you are older than me because I'm 21 with 40 years experience. But it's up to us to make sure that they have what they need. It's up to us to take the slings and arrows so that they can be the best that they can be. So with that, I'm going to cut this short, folks. I'm going to tell you that's all I got for you tonight. I had some other stuff. My head was just bursting. But I'm going to tell you this. If you do nothing else, go to YouTube, sign up, subscribe, because those folks, they didn't have a problem hearing me. I'm taking the show away from Facebook for that very reason. At times, the dubbing is off, but there's always something that happens intermittently that interrupts the show. That's beyond my control. So let's go to YouTube, go to my YouTube channel. And if you're on Facebook, I apologize. I'm going to edit the other and post it on my YouTube page so you'll actually get to hear what you missed the first time around. Some of you guys are trying to let me know, and sometimes I try to keep going because I think it's a little personal thing. You guys that have iPhones, you're having problems with them little silly ass Apple devices, and give you a minute to work it out, and it works itself out sometime. But I apologize. As always, I'm so humbled that you choose to spend your Thursday night with me. At least it's 35, 45 minutes. I had a 35-minute show planned for you, and I went over. So, as always, in parting, go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, click on the bell. YouTube has become more intrusive, but when they start asking you all these questions, just say no and keep going. When I post a video, go to the video and just hit subscribe in that video. And it cuts out some of the other stuff. When it asks you about the YouTube TV, just say no. But they've been doing some good things. They've been putting my videos in the rotation. So I'm starting to get feedback from other people. They're saying that they enjoy what I have to say. Um, as always, important love, peace, hair grease. Thank you for spending your Thursday night with me, especially tonight. Our future is bright, but we have to stay engaged. We have to stay involved. We owe it to our children's and our children's children. So remember, on 1/20/21, January the 20th, 2021, democracy prevailed. Even though it wasn't really written for us, even though in the beginning we were thought to be 3/5 of a man, in spite of those challenges, we saw a little 22-year-old Black girl stand up there and wow us. So imagine if we stay engaged. Now, it was Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, that supposedly heard this little talented young lady and gave her a voice. But it's up to us to make sure that the next little Miss Gormans and the next little Miss Harrises and the next little Mr. Van Jones and the next little me and yous, because we've done some fantastic things ourselves, folks. We're the everyday people that make it possible for those to shine. So don't make it about yourself. Make it about those that are less fortunate. With that, love, peace. Omit the logic. Don't expect this shit to make sense. I got something to say. My name is Hank Batiste. I'm your host. And like I say, the voices in my head are dancing a jig tonight. But I'm optimistically cynical because I know the shit ain't over. There's been some protest. So stay vigilant. Peace. Hair grease. I'm out of here. See you next time around. Next Thursday, same Bad Teach time, same Bad Teach place. Sign up for YouTube, folks. Please. Thank you. Good night.